What's going on, guys? My name is Tommy. Welcome back to the channel. It's time for another episode of... Where's my energy drink? Blue flavor. Just like my hair. But Ancestry Anthology. It's time for another episode of it. Time to break down one of my favorite ancestries in Pathfinder 1e into 2e, the Tengu. If you're liking what you see, remember to like, subscribe, ding the bell. Oh man, I've taken a crack in my knuckles every time I do that. It always feels really good. It also feels real good when you stay caught up on all your Pathfinder 1st and 2nd edition content. We still got a boatload of these to hack through. Oh, what can I say? I'm a pretty busy dude. It's hard to churn out one of these every week anymore, but we're working on it. And hey, if you've got a particular one you want to see next, throw it in the comments. Patronage at any tier can make that request jump to the top of the line. But for now, here we go. Alrighty, so we covered the heck out of this race in Pathfinder 1st Edition. Of course, you can follow this card right up here to get caught up on that. I think the Tengu was one of the uncommon races I saw the most at my tables, both as a player and a GM. They were just real good. Buffs to 2 good stats and 1 free exotic weapon, why not? However, much like some of the other quote-unquote monster races, the Tengu kinda got the short end of the lore stick in Pathfinder 1. With a nation to call their own in the Dragon Empires that kind of felt a little reservation-y. The place the Empire put them and then forgot about them when the Empire fell apart. Some of them, of course, would migrate all over the place. But we never really talked about that so much as Tengu like to wander. You can find them on ships. They come from eggs. Pathfinder 2 has taken many steps to fill in the gaps here, which again I think is A plus 10 out of 10. Of course, the Tengu have many avian characteristics, and let me real quick point out that no longer do these guys, strictly speaking, look like anthropomorphic crow folks. Their beaks are super varied also. Their forearms and lower legs end in talons, of course. They rarely are more than 5 feet tall and have those brittle bird bones. They hatch from eggs and are featherless for their first year of life, during which they rarely leave home. Home, in and of itself being such a varied and diverse thing among Tengu society, the Ancestry is extremely social. They band together in extended communities with many families living in adjacent houses and sharing the work of that household. Tengu children raised in the same unit consider each other siblings, usually forgetting which of them share a biological connection, because in fact we are all family. In bigger cities, this may include members of other ancestries, though, of course, Tengu still modify their appearance by dyeing patterns into feathers or talons, which can help other humanoids identify their expressions, because remember, you're not a mammal, you're avian. No lips makes it real hard to tell if you're smiling, I suppose. Now, we do touch on Tengu society as it used to be just a little bit. Tengu in 2nd edition are largely referred to as 2 groups, those in the roost or those migrating. Your in the roost Tengus tend to be more traditionalist, conservative, concerned with preserving their culture in the face of years of erosion from oppression, because that'll happen. Yeah, why not? Follow this card right up here. Here's the video on Quan Lai. We did that one a while ago. Whereas the migrating Tengus voraciously absorb the culture of the various nations and settlements that they now call home, adding it into their own diaspora. Down to the mechanics, these guys have 6 hit points. They are medium creatures with a speed of 25 feet, and much like the orc, they've got 1 free ability boost, 1 to dexterity, but no drawbacks. Feels good for the race that I feel kinda got crapped on lore-wise to see this come down. They of course speak Common, Tengu, and additional languages if their int is positive. They've got low light vision and a sharp beak, which deals 1d6 piercing damage. It's in the brawling weapon group, and has the finesse and unarmed traits. Super good for our Tengu rogues out there. For the heritages, the jinxed Tengu, the ones they really want to keep on ships. Your lineage has been exposed to curse after curse, and now they slide off your feathers like rain. If you succeeded a saving throw against a curse or misfortune effect, you crit succeed instead. When you would get the doomed condition, you may attempt a DC 17 flat check. On a success, reduce the value of the condition by 1. Mountain Keeper Tengus come from a long line of Tengu ascetics, leaving you with a link to the spirits of the world and the great beyond. You can cast Disrupt Undead as a primate innate spell at will. The Skyborn Tengu take no damage from falling, regardless of fall distance. Stormtoss Tengu, who might or might not have received a blessing from Hafeng himself, gain electricity resistance equal to half your level, and automatically succeed at a flat check to target a concealed creature if that creature is concealed only by rain or fog. Talon Tengu get a Talon's unarmed attack that does a d4 of slashing damage that lands in the brawling group with the agile, finesse, unarmed, and versatile piercing traits. Man, I'm not gonna lie, my first thought is back in the playtest, when fall damage was 10 damage per 10 feet fallen, Skyborn Tengu looks real good for that. Other than that, these all seem pretty balanced, kind of a what you see is what you get sort of thing. Some of these will be very good in some situations, some will be kind of meh. Honestly, I think I would just grab Skyborn just because I don't know if I'll be taking electric damage, but I bet there will always be some way, somehow, I can jump off a tree to avoid a monster, and I'd rather not get hurt for doing so. Anyway, feat time, here we go. First up, Scavenger's Search. You are always on the lookout for supplies and valuables. Each time you use the Seek action to search for objects, including secret doors and hazards, you can search for objects in your choice of a 10-foot emanation around you or an adjacent 15-foot by 15-foot area, rather than a single adjacent 10-foot by 10-foot. Remember, that's the thing. Mechanically, you are searching squares. You're playing Battleship now. The more you know. Squawk, as a reaction. God, it's hard to look at that and say that with a straight face. Should you critically fail a deception, diplomacy, or intimidation check against a creature that is not a Tengu, you let out an awkward squawk, ruffle your feathers, or fake some other bird-like tick to cover up a social misstep or faux pas. You get a failure, not a crit failure. Any creatures that witness you squawk are temporarily immune. Also, I just love that you can screw up at a dinner party and scream at the top of your lungs, and it's all good. It's a mood. It's a whole mood. Storm's Lash lets you cast that Electric Arc Primal Innate cantrip at will. Heightened, of course, to have your level rounded up. Tengu Lore gets you trained in Society and Survival, or a freebie if you had one already, and Tengu Lore. Tengu Weapon Familiarity gets you trained with the Blade and other Tengu weapons, namely Kakaras, and 2 weapons from the Sword group. There's sword trained for you. You can choose from among all common martial swords, plus the Katana, Temple Sword, and Wakizashi. For the purpose of determining your proficiency, that weapon is simple, and if it isn't common, you gain access to it. If you're trained in all martial weapons, you add common advanced swords to the swords you can choose from. You also gain access to all uncommon Tengu weapons. Every Ancestry's got one, you know you'd see it. At 5th level, Eat Fortune. A reaction, its trigger, a creature within 60 feet, uses a fortune or misfortune effect. The triggering effect is disrupted. If it's a misfortune effect, Eat Fortune gains the fortune trait. If it's a fortune effect, Eat Fortune gains the misfortune trait. This fortune or misfortune applies to the same roll the triggering effect would have, so you couldn't negate a fortune effect with Eat Fortune and then apply a misfortune effect to the same roll. But that's really good tech against all the halflings or anybody who's trying to reroll divination wizards. Bam. Shut them off. Long-nosed form addresses that age-old question, well, why aren't our Tengus those weird long-nosed Oni things? For one action, you can transform into a specific, curious-looking human form. It's the same age and body type as your Tengu form, and has roughly analogous physical traits like height and things, though your nose remains as long as your beak, and your complexion has red undertones, no matter the skin color of your human form. Using long-nosed form counts as creating a disguise for the impersonate use of deception. Due to your imperfect transformation, your transformation doesn't automatically beat perception DCs to figure out whether or not you're human, though you might be able to explain away or hide your Tengu traits. You of course lose your beak in your human form, as well as any other unarmed strikes you gain from a Tengu heritage or ancestry feat. But you can stay in this form indefinitely, so there you go. If you wanted to be the more classic image of a Tengu, sure, done, got it. One toe hop. For one action, you may make a vertical leap without triggering reactions that can be triggered by move actions or upon leaving or entering a square. GTFO seems good. Weapon study, of course, gives you the weapon critical specialization from everything in weapon training. To make it even better, eclectic sword training lets you change any of the swords designated in Tengu weapon familiarity to different swords that meet the same specifications. You have to practice with that sword during daily prep to designate it, and the designation only lasts until next daily prep. This changes only your proficiency, not your access. But it does make us a little more versatile. If you need something piercing, not slashing, boom, there it is. Soaring Flight for 2 actions if you are a Skyborn Tengu once per day. You grow a pair of magical wings for 5 minutes. You've got a fly speed equal to your land speed or 20 feet, whichever is greater. I don't know how you ended up with a land speed of 15, but I guess you technically could. Fair enough. Tengu weapon expertise lets your weapon proficiency with your swords tick up as you go. Great Tengu form. Takes long-nosed form and tacks on a 4th level enlarge and fly on top of it, which lasts for 5 minutes. Probably the whole combat if this is your shtick. Sure, why not? Big strength-based Tengu, go get him. And yeah, that's what we have so far. I will say the versatility with weapons is real nice, and any species that can attack with a bite or a tail slap or something looks really good in this edition, with something like Everstand Stance. Two-hand that shield, but don't sacrifice your ability to strike, or maybe you've got a ranged weapon and then somebody gets too close to you, you can just peck them in the face. Tengu rogues really like that. Eat Fortune feels like really good side tech too. I know I've been telling people ever since this game started that Lucky Halfling and all those rerolls were really good. This is how you hedge your bets against them if they're running wild at your tables. Just jam a couple Tengu in. Have a reaction to stop the reaction, make it a little more tactical without just shutting them down. I am currently GMing for a Tengu rogue in Extinction Curse, and assuming we don't TPK, I'll talk more about that when we get done with book 1, because it's a whole thing. Certainly the notion that you're not exactly mammalian is a fun thing to roleplay. Maybe it's not as bad as the 5e Kenku who has to pantomime every sound he's ever heard forever, but we get lightning magic and that's dope. What do y'all think? Are we playing Tengus in 2e? Are we GMing for him? Let me know in the comments below, and as always, thank you guys so much for watching. We've got more of the Ancestry Anthology to cut through. At this point, what? Isoki, Tieflings, Kobolds, Duskwalkers? Yeah, 4 more. We're getting there. And we'll see you with the next one next time.